The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, welcome to another CW webinar, once again from my home to yours. I'm Carolina and me and my team are here to bring you the main highlights of the 2020 World Cement, Clinker and Slag Seabased Trade Report and this year's update. On today's agenda, we will start with an introduction of our company, what it is that we do and what we have to offer. Secondly, I will share some information about today's presenters and provide you with an overview of what this report contains. We will soon after that share the highlights of the new report, or this new report editions, where we will focus on a small intro to our methodology, a macroeconomic overview, and then of course sea-based trade of cementitious products market overview and outlook, finalizing with some closing remarks. For today's presentation, I would like to introduce once again Prashant Singh, Associate Director at CW Group based in Mumbai, India. Of course, myself, Carolina Pereira, Advisory and Research Manager at CW Group, that in combination with Juliana Vieira, Business Analyst, worked in our office in Porto, Portugal. CW Group is presented across three distinct verticals: advisory, research, and media. And please bear in me for the next couple of minutes where I will give you a bit of a snapshot of what it is that we do. Under advisory, CW works with major global consultancies and leading institutions, including the World Bank and sovereign wealth funds on projects. We provide consulting and advisory expertise on a diverse product portfolio. During these challenging times, we have helped multiple industry participants on their decision-making processes. This includes development of projects like a feasibility study in the Horn of Africa, market assessments in South America, and market entry strategies in the Middle East. Under the research, CW focuses on producing syndicated reports. Those reports cover multiple areas like cement, building materials, coal, pet coke, bulk shipping, and also paper and pulp. although of course we are well known for our studies on cement demand at the global level, as well as detailed industry and country reports. We provide historical as well as forecasts for markets in a variety of products, including the volume forecast report, trade prices report, white cement report, and much, much more. We also provide commodity price assessments for cement and clinker. And to wrap up this introduction, under the media umbrella, by subscribing, we provide online access to a vast database. We provide newsletters focused on cement, building materials, coal, petcoke, bulk shipping, paper and pulp, with the latest industry news selected by our research team. We also hold industry-specific meetings called CW Summit after the success of the Americas editions in January that happened in Madrid, and I was very fortunate to attend. We are now preparing a Europe, North Africa, and Middle East edition now in Madrid, but of course later in the year. Now I will pass the presentation to my colleague Prashant, that will provide you a brief introduction in terms of what this report contains, but will after this provide an insightful global macroeconomic perspective, so please hold on for that.
Good morning, Thank you, Carlina, and good morning, everybody. Next slide, please. So let me just give you a brief overview of what this report contains. So CW's research, World Cement Clinker Slag-Based Sea Trade Report, includes an in-depth and data-oriented analysis of seaborne clinker, cement, slag, and fly ash that is updated on a yearly basis. We also have a special focus on analyzing trade flows, pricing trends, as well as looking at the trading infrastructure required for the movement of specialized dry bulk cargo. We, in addition to all of those numbers, we give you a comprehensive review of terminals, suppliers of cementitious materials, as to help the strategy decision makers across the industry to make the right decisions regarding imports and exports of cementitious products. We also provide key gray cement, fly ash, slag, and clinker supply demand gaps analysis, which allow you those in the space to understand what are the opportunities, and obviously on the other side, what are the threats to those specific market segments. But you must be asking, how do we have faith in what you are providing? So we'll go through a small explanation on the methodology slide, which is the next slide, please. So in this slide, as you can read, of course, at your leisure, what we do is we have a bottom-up approach by analyzing cement demand for cementitious material across all major markets, segments, cement, clinkers, fly ash, and slag. We then complement this with a review of data from various sources, including ports and customs, which allows us to create a detailed understanding of production and consumption of cementitious materials. We further complement this understanding with utilizing our own proprietary databases of cement carrier information in combination with plants and terminals information to create an overall picture of the infrastructure capabilities of cementitious products. This is then reviewed and analyzed to give our readers and clients a comprehensive sea-based cementitious product trade. review of the specific year, as well as a forecast for the next 5 years. Please, feel free to read more in detail about the methodology in the report section, which will give you, the necessary confidence to understand what processes are taken to get to this data. So let us now move on to the macroeconomic section of this presentation. So as you see on your screen, this was the data that was provided by the IMF as of January 2020. This is already, uncharacteristically, if I may add, already outdated significantly. Rarely has the IMF been forced to issue revision after revision after revision. And as is the case, we expect the latest version of the IMF World Economic Outlook to be out on April 14th, which is next week, with its review of its expectation of the world growth for 2020 and beyond. There are already many big investment banks and groups that have already come out with their analysis in the interim, and some with an expectation that the global economy will actually contract more than what happened in 2009 and 10 during the financial crisis, because this time the expectation is that China is actually also going to not be able to sustain the economic growth projected for this year at initially at 5.9, then revised to 5.6%, and now there is even talk of maybe either 1% or perhaps an actual contraction in Chinese growth, which has not happened in 44 years. The socio-economic and political impact of the aftermath of the COVID-19 will be felt long after this pandemic has subsided. The loss of millions of jobs that have happened globally and are happening as we speak due to reduction in business activity shows that things will not go back to normal once this thing has been brought under control. The impact across economic sectors, including construction, is still sort of unquantified as the pandemic is still raging across the globe. And as in China, even China's, there's a lot of conflicting news out of China. China basically stated 3 weeks ago that it had reopened certain areas in Shanghai and Beijing, and now it's actually again closing them for the fear that there might be a second outbreak of COVID-19. So we are right now in a scenario where things are very, very volatile. We do not know if we have actually reached peak of the pandemic or if this is just phase 1. So the global picture is very, very volatile and fluid at the moment. Next slide, please. So this is basically a map of where COVID-19 cases were as of yesterday. And I would just like to give you a reference. We had a webinar last week at the same time. And at that point in time, the number of infected cases on April 2nd was as 960,000. As of today, like maybe half an hour ago, it was at 1.53 million. So you can see that this is a very, very fluid situation. We're adding almost 50 to 70,000 new cases a day, and we still have no understanding when this situation is going to subside. So the next slide, please. So while that has been, while the above is all doom, I would like to sort of now bring you into the trading mindset. Here we have the BDI, and the Baltic Dry Index received a very sharp decline in February. which is, of course, now in hindsight, not entirely unexpected, as actually most of, the Europe and the North America was coming under the influence of the pandemic, and its full impact was actually being assessed and sort of understood what could happen. And that's why it dropped significantly. But as you see in the last couple of weeks, the index has not only stabilized, but it's actually showing a somewhat upward increase. And this is primarily due to routes from Brazil to China, where Chinese producers and suppliers have actually put in requests for demand for iron ore and other agricultural commodities from Brazil, which is helping drive these rates. So the message seems to be that the shipping industry will possibly see a better utilization in terms of its capacity over the few months, even though the global economy as a whole might still have very difficult times, because many people will take the advantage of these historically low shipping rates to move cargoes in preparation for when the economy stabilizes and growth resumes. So at this point, I would like to thank you for paying attention and shift and request my colleague Juliana to take you through the next few pages of this presentation.
Thank you, Prashant. Hello, everyone. I'm Juliana. And now, to provide a context of the global market scenario, I will present the global consumption of cementitious product at a historical and current levels. Globally, gray cement and clinker were and are the two main cementitious materials consumed during the last 5 years. Combined, the consumption of these two products is expected to account for 85% of the total cementitious consumption in 2020. Into 2019, cementitious consumption was stable, but looking to 2015 to 2020, TW estimated a decline of 1% of the global cementitious consumptions due to coronavirus outbreak. For some regions, especially Latin America, consumption may take longer to return to 2019 levels, as the economic outlook for the region had been a cause for concern even prior to the pandemic. Now, next slide, please. Now, regarding the total trade volume by sea, in 2020, gray cement and clinker combined are expected to make more than 80% of the total traded volumes of cementitious products. The trade accounts for less than 2% of the total global cementitious product demand. From 2015 to 2019, the total cementitious trade volume had a slight increase, but for the period of 2015 to 2020, the overall CAGR is negative due to the COVID-19 and its economic implications, of course. On the other hand, in 2020, clinker, white cement, slag, and fly ash are expected to have a positive growth, while gray cement is a commodity had been stable with a slight downward trend, but it's now in a downward trend due to the reduction in global construction activities. Next slide, please. Thank you. In this edition, we paid a special attention to trade facilities. We would like to bring you some of the highlights of cement terminals in Asia Pacific, North America, and the Med Basin. In Singapore, Jurong Port Cement Terminal is the common user, handling more than 90% of the Singapore bulk cement imports. While in Canada, Beton Provincial's terminal is a single-user cement terminal with a storage capacity of 108,000 tons. In Turkey, Medsen Marine Hub supports the export business and helps deliver key raw materials and fuel to the plant, the cement plant. Globally, there are almost 800 cement terminals, over 130 waterside grinding plants, and almost 150 waterside cement plants. Most of the import terminals are located in East Asia and Western Europe, while grinding facilities are more concentrated in Med Basin and in the Black Sea, and again in the Western Europe. There is a trend force for state-of-the-art infrastructures. Large demand volumes are driving this trend forward in combination with large ships and bigger facilities. In order to meet market pressure, trade volumes per ship increased, reducing the cost per ton. Now I would like to continue with the main sea trade routes for cementitious productions for 2020. The largest volume of cementitious materials is expected to be traded in Asia Pacific. This counts with almost half of the total seaborne trade, where the total cargo moved in 2020 is estimated at 79 million tons of cementitious materials. And out of this volume, almost 80% was gray cement and clinker. Asia is followed by the Black Sea, Med Basin, Western Europe, and Middle East in terms of cementitious material trading. The Black Sea and Med Basin are expected to trade around 22 million tons, and Western Europe and the Baltics volumes are likely to reach around 19 million tons. Thank you. Now I would like to give back presentation to Carolina.
Thank you, Juliana. Hello again. Let's now finalize our presentation with CW's outlook for this market. Although with a very small increase, we expect that by 2025, global seaborne volumes of cementitious materials will recover from the expected drop of the current year. That, as mentioned before, is likely to see significant declines in demand for those products due to the economic implications of COVID-19, as well as due to sharp declines in oil prices. If we compare 2025 volumes with the past years, 2019, an additional 13 million tons of cementitious materials is expected to be traded by sea. To the surprise of no one, gray cement and clinker are expected to represent the largest share of all cementitious materials being traded, with almost 82% of total volume in the end of our forecasts. For the next 5 years, environmental regulations will continue to drive the growth for clinker traded volumes in detriment of cement. And now, looking again at the routes that Juliana, my colleague, just presented, and giving you a big picture of what we see could possibly happen in 2025, the most likely scenario. Comparing it to 2020, we expect the volume reaching the US to increase to around 8.1 million tons. Asia Pacific seaborne trade is expected to increase around 8%, reaching almost 85 million tons, with a significant share of this growth coming from intra-regional trades. More stringent environmental regulations preventing capacity expansion in developed markets are expected to drive imports of cementitious materials by 2025, as has been doing as of right now. To wrap up this presentation, we would like to leave you with closing remarks. Key takeaways. So economic growth is no longer a guarantee. The macroeconomic scenario at a global level becomes grimmer and more volatile than ever. The world's pandemic implication in the global economy is yet to be fully assessed. Major markets, including China and US and several European countries, could see double-digit declines when it comes to demand. Total cementitious trade demand is expected to decline to around 9% this year due to the decline in demand in all major markets and, of course, travel and trading restrictions. Once again, a very important topic, environmental pressures regarding clinker production in major markets, and this, of course, includes China, will continue to drive trade of clinker. Again, and given the times of in the world, please stay home, stay safe. Any question, don't hesitate in contacting us, Prashant, me, or Juliana, and have a great rest of the week. We will see you in 2 weeks for another webinar. I'm counting on you. Bye-bye.